Hi, everyone. This is the Brad Free Report for Friday, April 13th. We're going to talk about Kentucky Derby trends. We'll do a little bit of past posting. We'll look forward to the spring meet at Santa Anita, and then we'll handicap a couple of races. Now, let's first talk about one of the more explosive three-year-olds in the country. His name is Justify, and it was last Saturday that Justify, in career start number 3, went off as the odds-on favorite in the Santa Anita Derby, off 2 blowout wins, a maiden win and an allowance win. How did Justify do in the Santa Anita Derby? Well, let's roll the tape and take a look. And he was running against none other than Bolt Doro, one of the best 2-year-olds in the country last year. That's Bolt Doro on the inside, Justify on the outside, and Justify takes care of business. He wins by 3 lengths. He earned another big number, and this is a serious racehorse. He has started only 3 times, and he did not start as a 2-year-old. Now, I bring it up because we have some interesting dynamics this year with regards to the Kentucky Derby scene. First of all, Justify and Magnum Moon, the favorite in the Arkansas Derby on Saturday, neither one of these top 3-year-olds raced as a 2-year-old. We've heard about the curse of Apollo, right? No Kentucky Derby since 1882 has been won by a horse that did not start as a 2-year-old. Now, I did a little bit of checking. Over the last 30 years, let's take a look at the chart. The last 30 years, these are the Kentucky Derby starters that did not race as a 2-year-old, and they all went off at odds of under 10-1. Some pretty good horses on that list. Verrazano at 8-1. He finished nowhere. Bodemeister was the favorite. He ran lights out, couldn't hold off I'll Have Another. And then you have some kind of middle-of-the-road type horses. Curlin, he turned out to be the best horse on the list. He finished 3rd and then came back to become a magnificent racehorse. Now, I bring it up because in talking about the curse of Apollo, I think we have to kind of take into consideration how many of these horses actually should have or could have won. By the way, this information is provided courtesy of the National Turf Riders and Broadcasters Association, who, according to their research, there have been 61 horses run in the Kentucky Derby since 1882, since Apollo, that did not start as a 2-year-old, and their record 0 for 61 with 3 seconds and 5/3. Now, I believe in these stats, I believe in these trends, but I also believe you have to take into consideration the circumstances surrounding the situation. In the case of this list, over the last 30 years, how many of these horses should have won? Well, if you just go by the odds, and by the way, those odds are all rounded down, how many winners should there have been? Based on the odds, well, there should have been 1. So we are only 1 winner behind the expected number of winners, Kentucky Derby starters that did not run at 2. I don't know if I explained that the right way, but here's the deal. Although I believe in these trends, I'm not sure that this Apollo curse is going to steer me away from Justify and or Magnum Moon. Because when you look at the last 30 years, only 1 of those horses should have won based on their odds, just on random sample. Maybe it should have been Curlin, maybe it should have been Bodemeister. My point is this: while I believe in the so-called curse of Apollo, I think you have to take some of these stats and trends with a little bit of a grain of salt. And if you're going to get off of Justify or Magnum Moon because of the curse of Apollo, I wonder if maybe you might be barking up the wrong tree, because I'm not so sure that it applies. I'm also not sure that it does not apply, but I'm not going to let the curse of Apollo talk me off those 2 good ones at the top of the list, Justify and Magnum Moon. Okay, another trend that we need to discuss is the Dubai to Derby trend. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and I bring it up again in the wake of Mendelssohn's devastating romp in the UAE Derby. And when we showed the list a couple weeks ago, I neglected to include years 2000 to 2003. So I want to thank my friend Ron Flatter for bringing that up and reminding me that I left off the first 5. The stats are still the same. Horses that prepped in Dubai and made their next start in the Kentucky Derby, 13 of them, none of them have hit the board. But when you go back and start looking at these horses a little bit closer, the lowest odds in the Kentucky Derby by any of these Dubai to Derby starters was in 2002. Essence of Dubai went off at 10-1. So when you look at the odds of these horses and compare them to how many winners there should have been, the answer is at this stage, there should have been a half a winner. I know you can't have a half a winner, but the point is this. Most of these Dubai to Kentucky starters were long shots. I don't believe yet that we are in a situation that you have to just blanket eliminate any horse that prepped in Dubai. So once again, we have another trend that I believe in, but I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. Mendelssohn was outstanding in victory in the UAE Derby. He will be the lowest odds horse to prep in Dubai and run in the Kentucky Derby. So still a big stat to overcome. 13 starts from Dubai, 0 wins, 0 seconds, 0 thirds. We'll find out the first Saturday in May if Mendelssohn can, well, turn this trend upside down. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Santa Anita Winter Spring Meet that ended last Sunday. It was the last day. This meet goes forever. It started on December 26th. It goes through June 24th. Santa Anita splits the meet in two. Everybody gets to start from scratch on Friday with the stats start. It's a reboot, basically, of the meet. But I like to look back on what happened and kind of do a little bit of past posting. One of the things that I found a little interesting, there were 21 graded stakes races on dirt during the winter meet, and 12 of them were won by favorites. So that's not really that surprising, because graded stakes races do tend to run to form, perhaps more so than normal races. 12 for 21 with favorites. But I wanted to go back and look at some of the higher odds winners and wonder if there's anything that they had in common. Were there any similarities? And maybe we can learn a little bit of something. Well, in hindsight, maybe we can learn a little bit of something. Let's talk about three of the longer odds winners from graded stakes races on dirt during the winter meet. And the first one happened on December 26th. It was a 5-horse field, and none of the speed horses went. And therefore, jockey Gary Stevens took charge on Giant Expectations, and he wired the field. A 5-horse field, and Giant Expectations paid $29, a lone front runner. Interesting. Lone speed in a 5-horse field, a $29 winner. 6 weeks later, in the Grade 3 Robert B. Lewis, it was Lonbo. This was a one other than allowance. I know it was a Grade 3 staked race, but every horse in the field was eligible to the first allowance condition, and Lonbo, stretching out from a sprint, he took the lead, and he was long gone at $19.40. In a bad field, speed is often powerful. And then a week later, it was a sprint, and Axeman down on the inside, hounded by Mr. Jagermeister, and it was Kanthaka on the outside rolling to a decisive win in the Grade 2 San Vicente, a $24 winner in a 6-horse field. So what do these three winners all have in common? Giant Expectations, Lonbo, and Kanthaka. Well, Giant Expectations and Lonbo were both lone speed going 2 turns. In the case of Kanthaka, he benefited from a wicked early pace. They went 22, 44, and 1, and Kanthaka, a deep closing sprinter, took advantage of the situation. So what did we learn? Well, only this. We know that form holds in graded stakes races on dirt, but if you're looking for a price play, and I didn't have any of those horses, by the way. I didn't have any of them and probably wouldn't in hindsight, but if you're looking for a long shot in a graded stakes on dirt, maybe it might be a good idea to analyze the pace scenario a little bit more closely. Sometimes lone speed going long, sometimes it might be a deep closer going short like Kanthaka. So those were the three upset winners of graded stakes races on dirt, and there were not many of them. Only City of Light in the Malibu Stakes on opening day of the meet also paid a decent price. Okay, let's look forward a little bit and talk about the Grade 1 stakes races that are up ahead during the spring-summer portion of the Santa Anita meet. The Gold Cup at Santa Anita, we expect Accelerate to run well Saturday in the Oaklawn Handicap and then come back home. He would be the early favorite right now. He won the Big Cap in the mud, and Accelerate would probably be the leading contender for the Gold Cup on May 26th. The Gamely Stakes, a mile and 1/8 on grass. Beau Recall, won the Grade 2 Royal Heroine. But when you go back and look at the Royal Heroine, I don't think you'll be surprised to see that the runner-up Thundering Sky should have won the race. I'm not sure if Thundering Sky will stay in California or return to the Midwest, but the Gamely Stakes, mile and the eighth on grass for fillies and mares. It'll be a wide open scramble as usual. The Shoemaker Mile, a 1 mile grass race on turf. Blackjack Cat should have a prep race, and he'll stretch out for his second start back in the Shoemaker Mile. The grass division in California is not very strong, but the filly mare division on dirt is pretty good. Unique Bella runs Friday in the Apple Blossom. Selcourt, who has turned out to be one of the top sprinters in California, is expected to stretch out for the Beholder Mile on June 2nd. So we're talking about Selcourt and Unique Bella perhaps on June 2nd. Those are the 4 Grade 1 races at Santa Anita during the spring-summer portion of the meet. Most of the focus right now nationally, deservedly so, is on the Triple Crown Series. But there are some good races out in California, and those were 4 of them. Okay, let's talk about a couple of races that will be run this weekend, including Saturday at Santa Anita, the Thor's Echo Handicap. It's race number 7, 6 furlongs for Cowbreds, and this would have been a very good race except for this. The favorite on the morning line, number 1, Edwards Going Left, another magnificent claim by trainer John Sadler. Edwards Going Left, Sadler said yesterday on Thursday morning that Edwards Going Left will, in fact, scratch. That leaves Tough Sunday as the controlling speed of the race. His odds will be considerably shorter than 5-2 on the morning line. And Tough Sunday, he's kind of a strange character. He's a very laid-back horse. Nobody at the Steve Maiotti stable likes to walk this horse because he walks so slow after a gallop, after a jog, after a workout. He is so laid back. He walks so slow that nobody wants to walk him. He's a good horse, Tough Sunday is. He's won 5 out of 18, $333,000 in earnings. I think he's long gone with the scratch of Edwards Going Left. Really no value in the Thor's Echo. Race number 7 on Saturday at Santa Anita. Race number 11 on Saturday at Oaklawn Park. Well, it's the last major Kentucky Derby prep race. It's the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby. And as creative as I wanted to get in this race, the more I look at it, I can't get past the favorite, Magnum Moon. I mean, this guy is absolutely on a roll. He's 3 for 3. His most recent win in the Grade 2 Rebel was decisive. Trainer Todd Pletcher is absolutely on a roll. He's won with 5 of his last 11 starters. Graded stakes for 3-year-olds on dirt. He has Vino Rosso, Audible, Noble Indy, and Magnum Moon, all aiming for the Kentucky Derby. And if Magnum Moon runs as well as expected on Saturday in the Arkansas Derby, he'll be tough to beat. He already defeated Solimini and Combatant, and not only did he put those horses away, he won by more than 3 lengths. This is a good horse, Magnum Moon is. He might be a little bit, I don't know if he's getting quite the attention of Audible and even Vino Rosso, but this is a good horse. Now, as far as wagering value goes in this race, there's one long shot in here that kind of intrigues me. His name is Dream Baby Dream, trained by Steve Asmussen, and his form looks very similar to last year's version of the Asmussen-Luis Contreras team, and that was Looking at Lee, runner-up in the 2017 Kentucky Derby, a long shot 3rd in the Arkansas Derby. Dream Baby Dream is a deep closer. He will be nowhere near the front, but he does finish. And his recent races, each start is getting a little bit better than the one before. So if I'm playing this race, I'm just going to concede the race to Magnum Moon. No creativity at all on the win end. But I like Dream Baby Dream to pick up the pieces and maybe hit the board, perhaps turn the trifecta into something halfway decent. So on Saturday at Santa Anita, it's Tough Sunday in the Thor's Echo. On Saturday at Oaklawn Park, I think Magnum Moon is a standout in the Arkansas Derby. I'm looking for number 4, Dream Baby Dream, to come along, pick up the pieces, and maybe hit the board. That's a wrap for the Brad Free Report for April 13th. I'll talk to you next time.